Hey guys, it's me, it's Queen Osset Haru, and thank you for joining me for another wonderful edition of Ask an Aquarius. If you haven't already, please hit the red subscribe button and smack the bell. Alright guys, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and pass it on to somebody else who may like it as well. Also, if you have any free time, please drop us a few comments in the comment section. The comment section is generally lit, okay? You may also notice, because somebody mentioned it already, that I have been wearing different nose rings. My nose has been pierced since I was 12 years old. A lot of things you see nowadays that everybody has and everybody does, nobody was doing when I did them. So they were edgy back then. So at 12 years old, I pierced my own nose. My mother was horrified. But basically, I took an earring and stabbed it through my nose. And I was 12 and so lucky it didn't get infected. And it was pierced for many years. And then because my mother hated it, I took it out a couple years later and let it close up. It might not even been years later, it might have been months later. And I let it close up. Well, then she irritated me and I decided to pierce it again. So this time I went to the Pierce and Bergonia and Cheltenham Mall, and they pierced my nose with a gun. And it's been pierced ever since. So I've been through a lot of different earrings. But as you guys probably can tell, my favorite one is the hoop. And I lost it. I've had two hoops in the past 2 years. And one of them I had for years and years and years, and the other one I didn't have long at all. I lost them both. So I lost the new one that I just got, and I lost the one that I had forever. So that one I just lost this week. I'm hoping that the cleaning lady will find it while she's cleaning up, because I looked for it and didn't see it. So I've been wearing whatever I had, these little small ones that I had in my jewelry collection. So if you're like, her face looks different, that's why. Because my nose ring is smaller. So until I can get another one, I have to make do with what I have, right? Now, let me tell you guys something that's really funny, okay? Dave Chappelle is a comedian. Most of you know who Dave Chappelle is. Dave Chappelle is a very controversial comedian. Sometimes Dave Chappelle is really funny. Like really funny. And sometimes people accuse him of being offensive. I admit, I've rarely been offended, but there were a few topics he joked about that I didn't think were funny. But I've never been really offended because I didn't see the special. I just heard about the topics and I was like, nah, I'm not gonna watch that. You know, but I've always enjoyed his comedy, the things I have seen, put it like that. But he's a very controversial character, and at one point in time, he had his own show, and it was called The Dave Chappelle Show. And I was a fan of the show because the show was out of pocket. It was funny. And one of the things I loved about it was Rick James, this is before he died, would always be on the show. Dave thought the stories about Rick were funny, which I do too. And Dave is a Virgo from what I remember. And he thought these Aquarius stories were really funny. So he had Charlie Murphy and Rick James come on the show to tell these old stories from the 60s and the 70s and 80s. And maybe, I think they stopped in like maybe the 80s. These stories about crazy stuff that Eddie Murphy, Charlie Murphy, and Rick James and their friends did. Wild stuff, you know, sexual things and drugs and all kinds of stuff. This funny stuff, you know, basketball games and fighting and all kinds of stuff. So they would come and relay these funny stories. And what I found interesting about this is this. Rick James is Aquarius. And almost all these stories are about Rick James doing something out of pocket. Punching Charlie Murphy in the face, coming in Eddie Murphy's house and kicking mud on his brand new couch. And then when they were like, yo, what are you doing? He was like, fuck his couch, fuck this couch. It was like going off, you know? And then when you ask Rick about it, Rick is like, I didn't do that. And then you're like, Rick, did you do that? And he's like, cocaine is a hell of a drug. So he just blames it all on the drugs, basically. Anyway, that to me is some Aquarius shit. Because Charlie Murphy was telling one of those stories about how Rick James punched him in the face. He was joking with him, and he said, what did the 5 fingers say to the face? And Charlie Murphy was like, what? And then he punched him in the face. So Charlie Murphy was pissed. And of course, this is not funny. It's funny to me, but it wasn't funny to Charlie Murphy. So Charlie Murphy waited till later, and he kicked him, later on, and then Rick is telling the story and he's making fun of the kick. He was like, it wasn't no karate kick like they tried to make it seem. And it's really just funny, but it illustrates that Aquarian behavior. And Charlie Murphy is the one that gave me this particular term, perpetual line stepper. He said that Rick James was a perpetual line stepper. And to me, that's the Aquarius. Aquarius are perpetual line steppers. Wherever the line is, the Aquarius is going to step over it. And the more out of pocket we are, if we're drinking, if we're doing drugs, if we're, in our, being funny, being loud, being boisterous, the more we're in that zone. Because it doesn't have to be a drug-induced zone. It could be drug-induced, could be alcohol-induced, or it could just be the Aquarius's natural behavior, because we're just like that. And we're in those spaces, I call them manic spaces, the Aquarius steps over the line perpetually. The Aquarius, I don't even know if Aquarius know where the line is. I don't even know, because sometimes I can't find a line, so I don't know if Aquarius know that or not. And some of us do know better, or we know better sometimes, and still step over the line anyway. And sometimes it's funny, and sometimes it's not. Sometimes it is not funny. Sometimes the Aquarius goes places, says outrageous things or inappropriate things that are just not funny, or does things like Rick in the couch. Rick is kicking mud on this man's couch, talking about he can buy another couch. Yeah, but why would you come into this man's house and kick mud on his couch? And that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. Like, you might be watching thinking, I'm an Aquarius and I wouldn't kick mud on somebody's couch. Maybe you wouldn't, but I bet you there are, for most of us, other times when you stepped over the line. And that's why I'm saying that Charlie Murphy is brilliant coming up with that term, perpetual line stepper. That is the Aquarius. Wherever the line is, the Aquarius will step over it. A lot of times it might be physical, like the Aquarius doing something like kicking the couch, but sometimes it's just what they say, that their mouth just out of pocket, and they say something out their mouth and you looking at them like, for real? Really? I'll give you another example. I have this friend who makes jokes about having sex with his mother-in-law. He's an Aquarius. And he makes jokes about having sex with his mother-in-law. He would never have sex with his mother-in-law. He wouldn't even do something like that. But he jokes about it, and it pisses off his wife. And then he starts to laugh. And I'm like, yo, this is not funny. And it cracks him up. The angrier she gets, the more it cracks him up. And I'm like, dog, that is not funny. And he's like, I'm just teasing. I'm like, I know you would never do something like that. I know that for a fact. But you don't understand that she doesn't think that's funny. And he doesn't seem to care that she doesn't think it's funny. And when she gets agitated by it, he thinks that's even funnier. And I'm looking at him like, nah. Cease and desist, So sometimes it's just the Aquarius's mouth, not so much their actions. But if you think about it, you probably know, if not every Aquarius, some Aquarius that is very common for them to step over the line. I'm very clear on it because I'm not always clear of where the line is. Some of the times I am, like in the case of the thing with the mother-in-law, I know that's a line. I know that's not appropriate, you know. Some lines, you know, from people, from being around people and seeing their reactions to certain things, I know certain things aren't appropriate, such as that. I wouldn't joke with my spouse about sleeping with their mother. You know, I wouldn't joke with my friend about, you know, sleeping with his wife. You know, there are lines that I clearly see, you know, but there are certain times when the line is blurred because it depends on your perception where the line is. And those are the times when, as an Aquarius, we really struggle because it's like, well, I would put it all the way over here. And you're like, I would put it a lot closer than that, you know? So if you think about it, Aquarius are perpetual line steppers. And for sometimes for some of us, sometimes that's actually a good thing because it means that sometimes it's not inappropriate. Sometimes it's just a stretching a thought or an idea along its natural course, but well beyond. That's the creative part of Aquarius. We can take something normal and stretch it well beyond and create something beautiful out of it. Those are those times when stepping over the line goes well. When it boosts your creativity or it helps you to make something that people like, then that's great, like a new music or a new dance or a new style. You know, something that's not really cool now, but people peep it and over time people start to like it, that kind of thing. Like with me and the nose ring, like I said before, it wasn't cool back then. But those of us who got them made them cool. You know, that's a very Aquarius thing. And that is like, that's kind of like stepping over the line as well. But it's more of a physical step over the line. But it's a time when it's appropriate and a time when it goes well. So as an Aquarius, that's not always going to be easy for you. For all of us, it's not always going to be easy to know where the line is. So if you have an Aquarius, I'm going to tell you this. If you have an Aquarius and they're perpetually stepping over the line, you need to let them know that they're perpetually stepping over the line and you want them to stop. That's basically what Charlie Murphy did. Rick didn't listen. And Charlie Murphy just kept on reiterating to him, you're stepping over the line. And I think that's just like what became, from the jokes I heard, that's what became of their relationship. He would step over, Charlie Murphy would tell him halt. Somebody got to tell the Aquarius to halt. So if it was me, and when it is me, when an Aquarius is stepping over my line, because they'll do it to me too, I do tell them like, you coming over the line. I tell them. So it's up to them from that point on if they want to keep coming over the line. Because I know for me, it depends on what it is. But some things I don't play with. And if you keep on coming over that line, I'm not like that wife who's just going to glare and keep it moving. I'm going to glare a few times, but eventually... Y'all already know I'm Aquarius, so eventually if you keep on stepping over that line and getting on my nerves, I'm not going to want you around. So like I said before, Aquarius have to really at least consider it. A lot of us don't though. You know, I'm probably one of the easiest Aquarius in the world to deal with because I do consider stuff like that, but a lot of us don't. But it is worth telling them when they're perpetually stepping over your line. Okay? All right, guys. It's time for me to get going. So, if you would like a reading, please email me and I will give you an appointment. Likewise, if you would like to get in contact with me, all my information will be underneath this video. And if you would like to send me a gift, my Amazon wish list is underneath this video. And if you would like to send me a donation, my PayPal information is underneath this video, and my Patreon page is underneath this video. And remember, anybody who signs up for Patreon between now and, what is it? I think November 2nd, you'll be entered into the contest for the free reading. I'm pulling the winner on November 2nd. So this is a great time to sign up for Patreon, because not only will you be a patron, not only will you be able to watch the witch trials, you will also potentially win a free reading with me. Take care, guys, and come back soon, because you know I got a lot more to say. See you later.